The 10 Commandments of Dating, Pastor Kevin edition. Welcome to the sermon studio. Dating commandment number 1. Thou shalt have no other relationships before me. If you have a relationship with somebody and you are esteeming that relationship higher than your relationship with the Lord, you're all kinds of out of whack. It's important to ensure and be certain that Christ is first and foremost in your life, that he has the preeminence in everything that you do, including your relationship. I always tell people to chase after Jesus as hard as they can. And if the other person can't keep up, they're not ready. If that other person can keep up, maybe sort of, kind of, possibly, perhaps you could consider a relationship with them. A lot of times when you are not married, you are regularly thinking about, and I might even insert the word obsessing about this other person. But if you in your dreaming and your thinking about this other person and the relationship that you could have with that person, if you can't see Jesus in that, and if Jesus doesn't have the preeminence in even those thoughts, then maybe you are putting a relationship before God. So make sure that you don't do that. Wake up if you are, and make sure that he is first, even in your relationships. Commandment number 2. I stole this one straight out the Bible. Honor thy father and thy mother. And there's a promise attached to that thy days may be long upon the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee. And so we have a command to honor our parents, honor your father and your mother. And when it comes to your relationship, if you live under their roof, they are involved in your relationship, whether you want them to be or not. So if they have rules, then submit to those rules. If they have guidelines that they want you to operate under, make sure you do that. If your parents don't have any rules, any guidelines, your preacher does. Your youth leader, your youth pastor does. Maybe your grandma and grandpa have some. But make sure that you follow some set of guidelines when it comes to dating. Best place to start is God's word and your parents. Number 3, thou shalt not be unequally yoked. Go back and check out 2 Corinthians 6:14. And it outlines that it's not good, it's sinful to be yoked up with unbelievers. And if it's a sin for a Christian to marry a lost person, then it's foolish for a Christian to date one. And I think this kind of tiptoes into the idea of like missionary dating. You don't just date somebody so you can lead them to Jesus, and don't just lead somebody to Jesus so that you can date them. Lead people to Jesus because they need Jesus, and then see what happens later. Timing is important. I mean, it's important to not like just run into some kind of relationship, because a lot of times rushed relationships are regretted relationships. So just be patient. If this is God's person for you, he will make it known. Number 4, thou shalt remain pure in body and mind. 1 Thessalonians 4:3-4, go back and check that out. 1 Timothy 5:22, go back and check that out. Trust me on this. No one ever ruined their life. No one ever ruined their life by staying pure. Our emotions can really get us in trouble. Hormones are the worst decision makers. Make sure you're not ruled by your feelings. Because your feelings change. Your feelings have probably changed today in so many ways. Your feelings have probably even changed in some way since you've tuned into this episode. Just make sure that You aren't ruled by your feelings and emotions. Set boundaries before your emotions burn you. And I'm reminded of an old saying. It goes like this: I'd rather have a guardrail at the top of a mountain than an ambulance at the bottom of the cliff. So make sure that you have committed to remaining pure in body and in mind. And I remember hearing somebody once say that your purity isn't for you. Your purity is for the other person. And so as you're doing this, don't just think it's just something that's only for you. It's for them too. Number 5, thou shalt protect your testimony and the testimony of the Lord which you bear. Go back and read 1 Thessalonians 5:22. Go back and read Matthew 5:16. If the optics of your relationship look really shady, then people are going to assume that the fruit is too. Now, the first thing you're probably thinking is, people aren't supposed to assume and stuff like that. But seriously, we're supposed to be above reproach. As a Christian, we're supposed to abstain from the appearance of evil. So it's important for us to make sure that like what people see in the relationships that we're in is something that is God honoring and God glorifying, not something that is going to drag his name through the mud and damage our witness and our testimony. So make sure that you do that. Number 6, thou shalt date with purpose. Go back and read Proverbs 4:23 through 27. I like that section of scripture because it just like helps us get the wisdom and to see that we're supposed to live with some kind of purpose in life and some kind of direction in life. And if you could take some of that text and kind of bake it into the idea of like the relationships that you have, I think it's going to help you clearly see that I need to like live a focused life. Relationships are not like, especially like romantic relationships, they're not just like a game that we play. Don't like play like all these kinds of emotional games, because if you play emotional games, you'll reap emotional damage. Your relationship isn't some kind of a merry-go-round. You date to marry. Hopefully you're dating with this idea in mind that I'm investing in a person that could be my spouse. They could be the person that is with me for the rest of my life. So you should be able to be able to communicate where this relationship is going. If you can't communicate where this relationship is going, it's probably not going anywhere, or it's probably not going anywhere good. So know that as you're dating, and as you're dating with purpose, you're dating for the purpose of building a future home. It's an investment in your future home. Don't just date to have fun tonight or tomorrow night or this weekend, because that's super shallow and it's not focused. Our relationships are a serious thing. So it's like, again, serious thing requires seriousness. Don't tie your heart to something you wouldn't tie your life to. Be careful about who you just give your heart to. Be careful about who you're just like, I love you so much. Be careful about like who you give your heart to. If you wouldn't tie your life to this person, don't start giving them your heart, and certainly don't like make it look like you're giving them your heart. Number 7, thou shalt submit to spiritual accountability. I remember preaching or teaching one time. I wasn't even talking to a specific family or couple, but somebody pipes out loud and she says, Pastor Kevin, stay out of our marriage. And it kind of threw me off guard, because I'm like, man, like what kind of pride and what kind of like evil line of thinking is that? Like if godly people aren't allowed to speak into your relationships, there's something wrong with you. Whether it's a pastor, whether it's a youth pastor, maybe a parent, a grandma and grandpa, like a mentor, a disciple leader, like if they can't speak into your relationship, I think there's something wrong with how you're viewing your relationship. So make sure that you allow and you mentally just accept, like, I'm going to be okay if somebody that's godly wants to speak into my relationship. Number 8, thou shalt regularly pray over thy relationships. Go back and read James 1:5. You know how the Bible talks about asking for wisdom and he'll give it to you. Man, I pray for that every single day of my life. I feel like I pray for wisdom. But you need to make sure that God's in it, that God's in this relationship. If God's not in the relationship, hopefully he's maybe pulling you out of that relationship. But you need to be regularly praying over that relationship. Because, like, at the end of the day, like, if you're in a relationship, to me, it says that you desire a marriage. Not everybody desires a marriage. Some people will stay single. But if you're in a relationship, it sounds to me like you're looking and thinking about marriage. You need to pray regularly and let God help you pick who's going to run this race that we run, who's going to run alongside you for the rest of your life. You need to pray that God will help you make that decision. And lastly, number 9, thou shalt remember that marriage is between two people of the opposite sex. Go back and read Genesis. Go back and read there's stuff in Hebrews too. Go back and read Ephesians 5. And one man, one woman. That's how God established it. That's the only way that we can fulfill God's purposes for couples and things like that too. That's the only way that we can adequately reflect Christ and his church, the bride. So make sure that you do it God's way. One man, one woman. God defined marriage so much longer than our recent culture has tried to redefine it. So make sure you do it God's way. And then lastly, number 10, thou shalt remember that marriage is for life. Go back and read Matthew 19:6. What God hath joined together, let not man put asunder. The world, a lot of times, and a lot of the people that we know, the world dates for fun, but Christians, they date for life. And like I said earlier, hopefully you know as you're dating, as you're in this relationship, that it is something that is and could be lived out with Christ at the center. You're building this future home. You're building a life together, and you're praying for wisdom, and God's giving it to you. And it's like, man, at some point, you're going to get to a point where you're like, God has helped me choose this person to run this race with right alongside me, and it is the best thing that you could ever have. I know, trust me, I know, because God gave me the wife that I have. She is the perfect person to be right next to me, not behind me, but right next to me in this life as we live it together, because marriage is like God's workmanship of love. And it's just like two people come together in one mission, all for the glory of God. And when you get that right, it's like a slice of heaven on earth. And if you do these things ahead of time, before you like make a covenant before God, if you get these things in line beforehand, everything will just kind of line up the way that it needs to. And I'm telling you, you're going to live a joy-filled and happy life. God bless y'all.